All right, we're ready to start our weight training class today. If you are joining us on YouTube, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Make sure that you ring that little bell for notifications too, so you get notified anytime we put up a new video. For today's class, you can have a chair if you prefer seated options. All of our exercises will have seated options today. And you're going to need some resistance bands. Now, all of these exercises can be done with dumbbells as well, but I find using resistance bands gives you a little bit different way to try things out, and a lot of times can be easier, especially for shoulder exercises, to find the right track for your shoulders because you can do it with a little more flexibility in your range of motion. So to warm up, we're going to start with our standard warm up. Feet hip width apart. If you're seated, you can do this one in the chair. Just sit up nice and tall in your chair. You're going to start swinging your arms side to side, just gently letting them tap against your body, loosening up your back and your shoulders. Couple more here. And then we're going to bring everything back into stillness. From here, we're going to move on to our shoulders with some nice big arm circles. And then go the other way. And then throw your arms in and out, crossing one over the top and then the other. Beautiful. From here, we're going to move on to our elbows. Nice big circles in one direction. And then go the other way. And then moving down to our wrists, same thing, circles in one direction. And then go the other way. Let's go ahead and squeeze our fingers in and out a few times too. Make sure our hands are nice and loosened up. Don't want to lose your grip on that resistance band. Perfect. All right, from here, we're going to move down to our lower body. So bring your feet out a little wider if you're standing and start some nice big hip circles going in one direction. And if you're seated, you're just going to sway your knees side to side. Again, just loosening up the hips. If you're standing, go ahead and go the other way. And then from here, we're going to move down to our knees. Bring your feet in close together. And you're going to start with just popping your knees backwards and forwards. And then if everything's feeling okay for standing, you're going to add some circles in one direction. For seated, you're just going to lean back in your chair and swing your legs. Just pick those feet up off the floor, swing like you're a little kid. If you're standing, go the other direction with those circles. And then we're going to finish off with our ankles. Seated or standing, just pick up one foot, spin it around in circles in one direction. And go the other way. And then switch feet. And go the other way. Beautiful. All right, from here, we're going to start with a lunge plus an overhead press on your left leg. So for this one, you're going to put the resistance band under your left foot and hold both ends of it in your left hand. You're going to step back with your right leg for a reverse lunge, do your overhead press, and then step back up. Make sure you have your balance before you do that overhead press. Take your time, make sure everything's nice and secure. We're building strength. We're not working cardio today. All right, we've got 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. You can make that lunge as deep as is good for your knees. The deeper you go, of course, the more work your muscles are doing. But even if you do a shallow lunge, you're still engaging those same muscles. Nice and steady. Keep your eyes straight ahead. Head, neck, and back in a straight line. You can adjust how hard it is by how tightly you're stretching the resistance band. So if it's a little too hard, move a little closer to the end. If it's a little too easy, choke up a little bit. Almost there. And time. Take a second, shake that arm out. And then we're going to go to the other side. So same thing. Band goes under your right foot this time. Straps go in your right hand. And you're just going to step straight back for your lunge. Lift that up for that overhead press, and then come back up. I like to make sure it goes on the outside of my shoulder or my elbow, not the inside, just because it's a little easier to not whack myself in the face. So make sure you're bringing it to the outside of your arm there. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Again, you can adjust the difficulty by where you're holding the strap for the overhead press, and adjust the difficulty on the lunge by how far you're stepping back. If you're doing the seated version, you just leave the lunge off and do it in the chair, just like this. Ten more seconds. And time. Beautiful. Shake those arms out. Next up, we're going to do a twist and press. Now, for this one, I like to use a resistance band that's tied in a knot, so I have a continuous loop, but it's up to you. I'm going to put the band around my back, right about my shoulder blades, and I'm going to loop it around so that I have a good grip in my left hand. For the standing version, you're just going to turn and punch to the side. If you want to add a little extra lower body, drop down into a squat hold and do the same thing from there. If you're doing the seated version, scoot to the edge of your chair. Again, get a nice grip and just turn and punch from there. So pick your variation. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Again, you can adjust the difficulty by how you're holding the resistance band, and take a little time, especially on this first set, to play with it and figure out what's going to be the right resistance for you. You can make sure you have the band nice and secure behind you by adjusting it up under your armpits a little bit more. Over halfway there. Turn your whole torso for that twist. So you're turning and looking the direction that you're punching out. Almost there. 5 seconds to go. And time. Shake that arm out, those legs too, if you were doing that squat hold. And then we're going to go to the other side. So think about where the resistance was for you, how your grip felt, and make any adjustments that you need to for the next round. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Nice and steady. You want it going out and back at the same pace. Using the resistance band, the hard work is actually going out, which is opposite with the dumbbell. But you still want to come back in at the same pace. Don't let that snap back pull you in. Make sure you're working the muscle in both directions. 15 seconds to go. Almost there. Time. Shake everything out. You can go ahead and take that band off if you did the full wrap around. And then from here, we're going to move into a chest and shoulder exercise. So this one kind of combines a chest fly with some shoulder stabilizing exercises. So you're going to do the standing version with your feet a little bit wider apart, shoulder width, maybe even a smidge bigger than that, depending on what's comfortable for you. You're going to grab both sides of the band and hold it down in front of your hips and pull it out. Then you're going to come up straight ahead, same thing, and then up a little bit above your head, and same thing. Now for the seated version, you can either do it with your knees out to give you room, or bring your feet out in front of you, keep those toes flexed, get a little calf exercise too, and do it there. 1 minute on the clock, pick your variation. Here we go. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall or standing up nice and tall. Reaching up through the crown of your head, keeping that back as straight as you can. Slow and easy breaths. If you feel like you're getting out of breath, you may need to tone it back a little bit, either in speed or in difficulty. But if everything's feeling good, keep going. 20 seconds to go. Almost there. And time. That one burns your shoulders for sure, so go ahead and give them a swing. Ease them a little bit. And then we're going to move into our tricep pullover. Now for this one, again, standing. You're going to put your feet right in the middle of your band, and you're going to pull it all the way up so that your elbows are nice and tight by your head. And then you're going to bring your belly in and tuck your hips under just a little bit so that you're not arching your back. So pull it in and then just up and down. For the seated version, same thing. But you're going to want to make sure you scoop back in your chair a little bit so you have a little more support. And then again, up and down. Keep those hips tucked under so that you're not arching your back. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Try to keep your elbows in nice and tight. If you find that the band is starting to pull a little uncomfortably in your hand, you can get a cloth or a little cushion to put around it. Some people prefer a wraparound grip so that they don't have to squeeze their fingers in as tight as well. Just find whatever's going to work for you. 20 seconds to go. Slow and steady. Keep those elbows in tight. And time. All right, that is one set down. Go ahead and set that band off to the side. Shake your arms out just a little bit and grab some water. All right, let's bring it back in. So we have the lunge plus overhead press up first. Again, it's going to go under your left foot, both ends of the strap in one hand, stepping back to whatever height of lunge is good for you, and then that overhead press. The seated version, bring it out to the side, sitting up nice and tall, and that overhead press. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Nice and steady. Make sure you have your balance on that lunge before you do your overhead press. Bringing the strap around the outside of your elbow. And adjusting your grip as needed. Almost there. And time. All right, shake everything out. And then switch sides. All right, same thing, other side. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. You may notice that your lunge is a little different on one side than the other. That's okay. If you have a knee that's a little finicky and you need to take a little more care on one side, definitely do what's going to be best for you for that side. 20 seconds left. Almost there. And time. Beautiful. Shake it out. Take a second. Get set up for your next exercise. This one is the twist and press. Now, if you don't have a continuous loop band, you can use the same technique with one that's open on both ends. Just bring it in and hold both ends together just like this. That'll work just as well. I personally prefer the continuous loop for this one, but it's totally up to you. All right, 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Seated or standing, whichever one's going to work best for you. Remember, if you're standing, you can add that squat hold to increase your lower body work too. Beautiful, you got it. Remember to turn and look at the hand as you're punching out, or look out over the hand. Keep your torso turning so you get the oblique and back action, as well as the shoulder work. 10 seconds to go. And time. Shake that arm out. Take a second, get set up for the other side. And then 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Remember, you can always adjust anything you need to at any point in the exercise. If you feel like it's not working for you, change your grip, change the resistance, change where it is on the strap is on your back, whatever you feel like is going to make it work better for you, because every body is different. 30 seconds to go. Almost there. And time. Beautiful. Take a second. Shake that arm out. Maybe both arms. And then next up, we have our chest and shoulder stabilizers. So seated or standing. If you're seated, legs out or legs together, but feet extended so your knees aren't in the way. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Beautiful. Hit the middle both ways, going up and going down. So you get a little extra work through your chest. You don't want to do too high resistance for this one because you are working those little stabilizer muscles, especially at the bottom and the top. So it's okay to go light. Three seconds to go. You got this. And time. All right, last one, that tricep pullover or pull up. Feet together, seated or standing. Bring it up, shoulder or elbows in by your head. Tuck the belly and the hips. 1 minute. Here we go. Slow and steady. Elbows in close to your head. Check your grip. Make sure your hands are still feeling okay. You're more than halfway there. Check in, make sure your belly's still pulled in tight and your hips are still tucked. You got 10 seconds to go. Time. Nice job. All right, set everything to the side, grab a sip of water, and then we have one set left. All right, bring it back in. We've got that lunge plus overhead press or the seated version, just the overhead press. 1 minute on the clock, starting on the left side. Here we go. Slow and steady, same pace going up and going down. Make sure you're still breathing comfortably. And as always, adjust anything you need to at any time. 10 seconds to go. Time. Shake that arm out. Move to the other side. Maybe shake the leg too if you're doing the lunges. Well, now, as I'm doing the seated one, you may notice I'm putting my foot out to the side a little bit. That just makes it a little bit easier. If I have it in tight, it's catching on my pants. So if I bring it out a little bit, it makes that track a little bit easier for the overhead press. All right, here we go, 1 minute. Still sitting up nice and tall. Or standing up nice and tall, reaching up through the crown of your head, depending on which variation you're doing. 30 seconds to go. You got this. You're on your last set. Ten more seconds. And time. Shake that arm out. And then get ready for the twist and press. Seated, standing, or standing with the squat hold. Up to you. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Still nice, steady breathing. You want to do an exertion test periodically throughout your workout. You should be able to speak in short sentences, but probably not hold a long conversation or sing a song. And that's the exertion level that you're going for. 10 seconds to go. And time. Shake that arm out. Switch sides. One minute on the clock. Here we go. If you feel like you can hold a long conversation with no difficulty and you want to up your workload a little bit, just wrap that resistance band around your hand a couple times, increase the resistance, or add in one of the other variations. Standing if you're seated, doing the squat hold if you're already standing, just so you're working a little harder. 20 seconds to go. Of course, if everything's feeling good and it's just the right amount of work for you, stay right where you are. Time. Nice job. Go ahead and shake that arm out as well. And then we have our chest and our shoulder stabilizers next. Seated or standing. Make sure you have room if you're seated to do your bottom one. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. If you want to add in a little core work on this one too, make sure you're keeping that belly squeezed in tight. Tuck the hips under here as well, and hold that pose with everything squeezed in nice and tight. "20 seconds to go. You got this. And time. Beautiful. Shake those shoulders out. And then we have our tricep extension or tricep press up as our last exercise. Once your strap is in position, sitting up nice and tall, squeeze the belly, tuck the hips. 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. Remember, the key for this one is to keep the elbows in as tight as you can and to keep that slightly tucked in core so that you're not arching your back. That'll help you focus all the work in your triceps. Halfway there. Slow and steady. "15 seconds to go. You got this." And time. Whew, feel the burn in those triceps. All right, that is our last one. Go ahead and shake everything out, grab some water, and then we'll do our final stretch. All right, bring it in for your final stretch. From here, take a nice deep breath in, bring your hands up over your head. And then we're gonna lean to one side, come back to center, lean to the other side, back to center, and fold forward. And just hang for a second, relax, let gravity help stretch you out. And then roll up nice and slow. Roll your shoulders down and back. We're going to do that 3 times. And then forward 3 times. And then we're going to take one arm, bring it across the chest. Keep that shoulder down away from your chin. And then if it feels good, look out over that hand. Take a breath here. And then release, come back to center. We're going to go to the other side. So bring that arm across the chest, pull it in. You should feel a nice stretch through the outside of your shoulder here. And then if it feels good, turn and look out over that hand, adding in the neck stretch as well. And release, come back to center. From here, we're going to stretch out that tricep a little bit. We worked it pretty hard today. So reach up like you're patting yourself on the back. And then from here, this may be enough of a stretch for you. If it is, just stay right there. If you'd like a little more, you can take your hand and push your elbow back just until you feel a nice stretch through that tricep. If you have a lot of flexibility in your shoulder and you want even more, you can reach your hand up behind, clasp hands, and then pull down that way, which will give you even more of a stretch. Take one breath here. and then release. Moving to the other side, same thing. Reach up, pat yourself on the back, and then assess. Am I good here, or do I want a little more? You can either push your elbow back, or again, reach that hand up behind to pull down, depending on what your flexibility and range of motion is. You want to feel a stretch, but you shouldn't feel any pain. And release. And then from here, we're just going to do a stretch through the back of our leg, either seated or standing. You're going to put your foot out, lift the toes up, lean forward. You should feel a nice stretch through your calf and your hamstring. And then you're going to reach down towards your shin, your toes, or the floor, whatever's in your reach. And just pause here for a second. And before we come up from here, we're going to take the opposite hand and reach down to the outside of that leg or foot and just add a little bit of a twist. And release, come up nice and slow. And then we're going to go to the other side, putting the opposite foot out, toes up. Same side hand is going to reach down towards shin, toes, or floor. Nice, slow, steady breaths here. And then to add that twist on, take your opposite hand and reach to the outside of either the shin or the foot, or again, the floor if that's in your reach. One more breath. And then come up nice and slow. All right, you are all done today. Fantastic job. I will see you next week.